And I would really like to hear you say it.
Alex?
That scene you just saw there was the last episode of 1923 season 2. And if I'm being honest, I absolutely adored and loved the show from beginning to end. Especially season 2. Season 2 was beautiful. It was very nice. I really enjoyed season 2 compared to season 1. And honestly, the last episode of season 2, it left me speechless. Not because of a massive twist, not because of a shocking death, but because the weight you have to bear to watch this, the weight you feel, the guilt you feel after finishing that last episode. This isn't just another Western spin-off. It's a story about endurance, about what survival really costs in a world that keeps taking from you. If you came expecting a neat ending, what you got instead was a goodbye that hurts in silence. Because I remember I saw on Letterboxd people online are calling this finale heartbreaking but honest, and that's exactly it. It doesn't manipulate you. It doesn't manipulate you with drama. It just lets the pain exist. You feel uncomfortable afterwards. You feel it in Spencer Dutton, played by Brendan Skilner. The exhaustion, the guilt, that quiet kind of grief that doesn't explode. It just sits with, just lingers on top of your heart. Especially man, so many moments in that last episode where everything just felt horrible. Like you see hope, but then there's no hope. The hope just gets crushed. But if I'm being honest, Brandon Skilner, that played Spencer Dutton in this, he deserves serious recognition. Every expression, every hesitation before a decision, the weight behind every word, the expression on his face, the look in his eyes, it feels very lived in. He carries the story like a man walking through a memory, not a person that's acting. Especially especially that last part when he's with when he's with his wife, when he's saving his family, all those moments.
I wouldn't take the chance. If you found someone else, how could I kill her from England?
What I like about 1923 is this show. What I love about this show and what the finale makes clear is that 1923 isn't a show about heroes or villains. It's about people who built something out of nothing and paid for it with everything they had, just by other people interfering with their business, just by other people being greedy. It really makes you ask you. It makes you ask yourself. It makes you ask yourself how much can a person lose before they just go crazy, before they just stop being themselves. The finale doesn't answer that, however, it just leaves you sitting with that question. That scene where Spencer Dutton and his uncle, played by the actor who does Indiana Jones, I keep on forgetting his name, but that scene where he just guns down that rich villain in his own home. He walks in, tells him, "You're the one that's guilty for killing my wife. Say her name." He says it as soon as he says it. You guys saw it. Shoots him down straight away. Straight away. He was holding it together the whole time, and then at the end, he just lets it loose. It's not even satisfying, to be honest. It does for a brief moment. It does feel satisfying. How it feels empty, like he feels empty afterwards, like he crossed the line he can never come back from. And that's when you start seeing him differently, even though there's not much after the show after that. That scene hits you hard after watching, and you can feel every bit of pain, every loss, everything that's been leading up to this. And when it finally happens, it does not give Spencer Dutton peace. It just takes away what little he had left in him. I finished that episode and just sat there for a while, just digesting what had just occurred. I did not even know what to feel. Spencer never got what he wanted, but at the same time, it felt like he lost everything that made him who he was. Because he just goes back to who he was in season 1. Because when Alexandra came into his life, he started to look a bit more human. He started to look like another person. He just goes back to at the end of season 2. But that's what the show does so well. It does not give you clean endings. It just makes you feel something honest, but at the same time, you do feel very uncomfortable. Yeah, that last act, it didn't even feel like revenge. It just felt like the Spencer Dutton we knew in season 1. The Spencer Dutton who was just hunting prey, hunting animals. Now let's get into Alexandra, the person, the woman, the lady who made him feel like a human again. But what really broke me in the finale was not the violence, it was not the revenge, it was not the gore, it was not the people dying. Actually, kind of was, but it was Spencer and Alexandra. Spencer and Alexandra. Because from the start, those two, they were the only thing that in this story that felt pure. Other than the fact that she cheated on her husband, left him, and he also died. Other than that, yeah, It was very nice watching them. They were just trying to build a life together, and the world just kept tearing them apart over and over again. If it was not war, it was a family, or it was guilt. That's what makes it tragic. Even though they're trying to cling on to each other, so just keep on getting separated. When Spencer kills that man, you can tell it's not about vengeance anymore. He lost her in a way that no amount of fighting can fix. No amount of fighting can fix. He's doing everything to protect a future that does not exist anymore. But he does have his son to look after. It's like he's still fighting for her, but she's gone. She's not in this world anymore. But those two actors, Brandon Skelner and Julia, I don't know how to pronounce their last name, they really had good chemistry in the show, because it felt like you were watching a real couple on camera. Every look, every touch, every interaction they had with each other, it felt very, very realistic. It felt lived in. And the saddest part is when he dies at the end. This show does it. It gives you hope, and then it just kills the hope. It does it so well. She survived the icy ordeal. She got back to Spencer. Spencer is the one who actually saved her from her dying of frostbite. She was pregnant, however. She named her son John. Wow, couldn't have picked a better name. But her hands and her feet were gone from the frostbite. The doctor said she needed amputations. She refused. She said she'd rather have her dignity over looking like a monster. I think if I remember clearly, she said, "I will not exchange what we made for me." That line, that one line, it hits. She gives birth. She holds her baby. And then Indiana Jones, her uncle, comes in because he's also been shot by by the um by the villain's gang. And then that's the brief moment where she meets the Dutton family, but at the same time she also dies. She didn't get to meet the mother, and Indiana Jones's wife. She didn't get to meet him at all. But they were in the hospital for a brief moment, and I felt like they had a really good connection, even though it was very short. Anyway, she gives birth. She whispers to Spencer, "If he's anything like me, he'll be a terrible child." And oh my god, it's just slowly breaking you down, the show. And then she goes to sleep with Spencer right next to her on the same hospital bed, sleeping with each other, and the baby on her chest. By the time it's morning, she's nothing but a corpse, a cold corpse. Oh my god, that's horrible. And this, you see Spencer just sits laying next to her. You see him looking at her and the baby. Oh, that's horrible. But after that, he kills the villain responsible. He burns down his house. He secures the ranch, but he also buries Alex. But after that, Spencer, he does have to continue the Dutton legacy. He kills the villain responsible. He does burn his house. He secures the ranch. But at the same time, he also buries Alex, the love of his life, and his brother Jack, side by side. And we learn at the end of the show that he raises the son she left. He lives another 45 years. At the end, you can see his grave next to her. That's really what sums it up, man. Till death do us part. But if I'm being honest, the coolest part of this show, of that last episode, is when he goes back to the ranch and just guns down all those people attacking his ranch and just saves his family. That scene was straight out of a superhero movie. I really, really enjoyed that scene. I really enjoyed 1923. What made this finale powerful wasn't the gunfire, it wasn't the drama, it wasn't the violence. It was watching a man break, rebuild himself, and still find the strength in the end to protect what's left of his world. Brandon Skelner, he didn't just play Spencer, he literally wore the grief of the character he was playing in his expression, in his look, the way he said words. If this is the last time we've seen 1923, it's one of those endings that lingers, not because it's perfect, but because it hurts in a way that feels honest. So yeah, that's my take on 1923. If you have any other different takes, if you have any other ideas or whatever you want to say, just comment down below. So what did you think? If you enjoyed 1923 or haven't seen it before, I recommend you go watch it. It's a very good watch. I recommend it, yes. And if you have anything you want to say in the comments down below, I'll most likely respond to them. Thank you for watching Pause Point Analysis.